Dogs can sometimes be more humane than people. They are capable of compassion and sometimes understand without words when a person needs their help. They will never leave their master, no matter how hard it is for them. Today's story is about how a German Shepherd, Magnus, helped his disabled owner regain mobility. In the city of Taraz, Kazakhstan, passers-by often see something that brings a tear to their eye: an elderly man in an old collapsing wheelchair riding along the road, and his faithful companion, a dog, proudly walking next to him. Anthony does not have the ability to move independently after losing a leg to illness. At that time, his dog Magnus was only 11 months old. When the man returned home from the hospital, he was confined to a wheelchair. The man did not have money for a good chair, so he settled with an old broken chair, which, moreover, was also very difficult to operate. When he first left the house in a wheelchair, his faithful friend did not leave his side throughout the entire journey. When Magnus saw how hard it was for his owner, how much effort he put into moving the rickety wheelchair, he did something that greatly surprised Anthony and then everyone around him. The dog faithfully walked next to the right side of the wheelchair and then abruptly stopped and stayed behind. He seemed to be contemplating his plan to help. Anthony lost sight of his dog. He even slowed down to wait for his friend who had lagged behind him when suddenly the wheelchair started moving itself. He could not figure out what had happened because now he had only time to turn right or left, and the chair was driving itself as if someone was pushing it from behind. He finally managed to turn himself around to see who was assisting him. He was met with quite the surprise. Magnus, with his head pressed between the rear anchorages of the wheelchair, was pushing the wheelchair forward with all his might. The dog had a hard time, the weight of the man and the chair being more than twice his size, but this did not stop him. He continued pushing his master forward regardless of any obstacles. This gave Anthony the motivation he needed. He was able to leave the house much more often and was able to maneuver the wheelchair himself. Now he could go to the grocery store on his own, breathe the fresh air, and not sit in the stuffy rooms of his house. Magnus helps Anthony with everything, brings him necessary things, carries packages, and keeps him company. What is even more surprising in this story is that no one specifically taught this to the dog. Magnus simply understood his companion needed help, and he made it happen. Several times people have asked Anthony to sell the dog, many of them wanting to have such a smart dog for themselves. But Anthony will never part with his best friend. They have been living together for several years. They have even become locally popular. Many volunteers try to help the pair, but Anthony politely refuses, saying that he already received the greatest help and the greatest happiness at the moment when Magnus chose him as his owner. We can all learn from Magnus and be a little kinder to our loved ones. Perhaps someone in your life needs some extra help or just companionship. Sometimes even a simple task can lift a person's spirits and make their life much happier.